Hey fly tyers, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying a pattern called the BHSHPID. And if you're wondering, that stands for the Bead Head, Soft Hackle, Peacock Ice Dub. And this is a pattern developed by a tyer named Richard Tate. He comes out of central Pennsylvania. And basically this was tied up to represent the pupal stage of the granum hatch of caddisflies. So he developed this pattern over a number of seasons. Basically, this comes from the traditional Gray-hackle Peacock wet fly. And he's made a few adjustments, made it a little bit more durable over the years. And you can have a read about this pattern in the latest edition of Flyfishing and Fly Tying Journal. If you want to get entered into our next draw for prizes, which is flies and decals, leave a comment below. Let's have a look at the material list and get started. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. Today we're using a Mustad S82-3906B, and the pattern size lists for size 12 or 14, but you could go a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. We're using a 1/8 gold bead on this fly, so we're just going to add a few wraps of lead wire just behind the bead here, just to add a little bit of extra weight. And for the size of lead, we're using size 0.020, and we're going to put on somewhere between 6 and 10 wraps. And we're going to cut that off with the back of our scissors, and we're just going to kind of fold that extra lead around. You can use the back of your scissors or your thumbnail and just kind of tighten it around the hook shank, and then push it up under the bead. We'll give our pattern a nice little bit of extra weight. For thread, we're going to be using 70 denier rusty brown UTC, and we're just going to start that on right behind the lead. And we're just going to keep in mind that there's a bit of a step from the bare hook shank into the lead, so we want to try and fill that as we go along a little bit. Wrap down to the bend, clip the tag end of the thread. Now we're going to tie in a little piece of fine copper wire. And we're just going to tie that in along the side of the hook, and we're going to put it up against the back of the lead and then fold back that tag just to really lock it in place there. And we'll just cover the tag end with a few extra wraps. Throw in a few extra wraps in behind the lead just to kind of build up that transition. All right, we've got our wires safely stowed in our material clip, and we're going to take a little bit of this peacock ice dubbing. You can use a bunch of different colors here. I've actually blended a lighter and a darker color to get somewhere in the middle. And we're just going to put on a dubbing noodle, fairly thin, and then we're just going to start to build a gradual taper towards the head of the fly. You might have to use a couple applications of the dubbing here just to get this filled out. Now, the pattern in Fly Fishing and Tying Journal was fairly heavy for the amount of dubbing on there. I tend to kind of go a little bit lighter with mine, but you can adjust that to suit your own tastes. Alright, so then we've got the body wrap. We're just going to counter wrap that with our fine copper wire. Just a few wraps. That'll add a little bit of segmentation in there as well, but actually kind of blends in really nicely. So originally this was tied without the copper wire, but the dubbing kept coming out fairly quickly, so it was suggested to use the copper wire counter rib just to kind of preserve some of the dubbing. So we tie off the wire and helicopter off the excess. Now we're going to get our soft hackle. We're just using a Hungarian partridge. So we're going to take one of these feathers with a little bit of color in it near the top. We're just going to strip off the fluff off the bottom here. Just do a rough measurement. Looks good. So once we got that, then we're going to pull down the hackle fibers, and we're going to just create a tie-in point at the tip with everything stroked back. Add a few wraps of thread, and then we're going to fold the tip back and wrap over that to really secure it. And then we'll either pull or cut away the tip. And then we're just going to prepare the feather. We're just going to take our scissors and kind of fold down that inside edge of the feather. And we're going to pull everything back as we wrap it around the hook shank. And you probably want to go 1.5 to 2 wraps with that. That's plenty there. So we'll add a few wraps just to secure the stem. Then we'll fold back the stem, wrap over top of that, and then we'll trim away the excess. Let's trim that up. And we'll add a few wraps just to clean up the cut ends here. So one thing I've been trying to do is just make a flies a little bit more durable. So we're going to add a little bit of solar res after we add a whip finish onto this fly. And these exposed thread wraps up front make a nice platform for our solar res bone dry. And what I like to do before that is just kind of push out the hackle fibers a little bit so that when we do cure it, they tend to stay flared out a little bit more. Not really actively trying to push the resin up the hackle, but a little bit might get on there, and I'll just kind of keep the hackle fibers standing a little bit higher. So we'll go ahead and we'll zap that with our UV light. And there you go. That's the BHSHPID. Hey fly tyers, thanks for stopping by and checking out my fly tying videos. If you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, hit the thumbs up and share it to your social networks. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, be sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications on my latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you have a question or comment, leave a message below. You'll also be entered into the next draw for some of the flies I tie and a few stickers. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.